Now moving on from the nasopharynx to the oropharynx, we'll be talking about the applied anatomy. Firstly, its extent. It extends from the plane of the hard palate above to the plane of the hyoid bone below. So it's the hard palate above and the hyoid bone below. Now where does it lie? It lies exactly opposite to the oral cavity, and through this it communicates through the oropharyngeal isthmus. Now this oropharyngeal isthmus, it has its own boundaries. Above it is bounded by the soft palate, then below it has the upper surface of the tongue, and on the lateral sides, on the either sides, it has the palatoglossal arch, also known as the anterior arch. Well, the next one we'll be discussing about the boundaries in specific for the oropharynx. Right. Firstly, we have the posterior wall. This posterior wall, it is related to the retropharyngeal space, that is the space just behind the pharynx, and most importantly, it lies opposite to the second and the upper part of the third cervical vertebra. Second and the third. Third, what is it? It's only the upper part of the cervical vertebra. Next is the anterior wall. Anterior wall is important here. Above it is deficit, as already mentioned, and this above it communicates with the oral cavity. Above that, where the oropharynx communicates with the oral cavity, but below it has three main important parts. Firstly, it is the base of the tongue, that is posterior to the circumvallate papillae. Then we have the lingual tonsils, lingual tongue tonsils, one on the either side, and this is situated in the base of the tongue. Next, third important is valleculae. This valleculae, these are nothing but cup-shaped depressions lying between the base of the tongue and the anterior surface of the epiglottis. Now, each is bounded medially by the median glossoepiglottic fold and laterally by the pharyngoepiglottic fold. These valleculae are most importantly the seat of retention cysts. This is important here. Now moving on to the lateral wall, again an important one. The lateral wall here, it again presents three parts. Firstly, it is the palatine tonsil. Then we have the anterior pillar formed by the palatoglossal muscle. It is also called as a palatoglossal arch. Then we have the posterior pillar, also known as the palatopharyngeal arch, because it is formed by the palatopharyngeus muscle. And this palatine tonsil is also known as a fascial tonsil. Now, the important thing here, what we need to know is both these anterior and the posterior pillars, that is, the palatoglossal and the palatopharyngeal arches, they diverge from the soft palate, and they enclose a triangular depression. This depression is called as the tonsillar fossa, in which is situated the palatine tonsil. When I was discussing about the pharynx in general, I have told that the palatine tonsil is in the tonsillar fossa. So what is this tonsillar fossa? This is nothing but a triangular depression formed when both the anterior and the posterior pillars diverge from the soft palate. Okay. Now, the boundary between the oropharynx above and the hypopharynx below is formed by the upper border of the epiglottis and also the pharyngoepiglottic fold. Where do we learn about the pharyngoepiglottic fold? These are nothing but the lateral boundaries for the valleculae. Here is a diagrammatic representation which shows the anterior pillar, the posterior pillar. Then we have the circumvallate papillae and the posterior pharyngeal wall. These are nothing but various structures in the oropharynx. Next is a picture showing the base of the tongue and the valleculae. As already mentioned, the base of the tongue. Then we have the circumvallate papillae, the median and the lateral glossoepiglottic folds. Then we have the valleculae, and then there is the tonsil. The important things to remember here. Moving on to the next part, that is the lymphatic drainage. Again, we have three important constituents here. Firstly, the lymphatics can drain into the upper jugular chain. Right. particularly the jugular-digastric node. Secondly, what we have is the soft palate, the lateral and the posterior pharyngeal walls, and also the base of the tongue. It can drain into the retropharyngeal and the parapharyngeal nodes. And from there, again, it can drain into the jugulo-digastric and also the posterior cervical groove. Thirdly, the base of the tongue can drain it bilaterally on both the sides of the neck. Okay. Last part of the oropharynx, as mentioned earlier, functions. We all know it, simple ones, again for a passage of air and food. Then it helps in the pharyngeal phase of deglutination. Then we have, it helps for speech sounds, forms a part of the vocal tract for certain speech sounds. Then helps in appreciation of taste. There are taste buds present in the base of the tongue, the soft palate, anterior pillars, and the posterior pharyngeal wall. Earlier, they used to say that taste buds have specific sites for the sourness, the saltiness, the spice, and the sweet. But now it is generalized that there's perceptions of all these tastes on all parts of the area of the base of the tongue, soft palate, and other structures. Most importantly, the fifth point, what I've mentioned here, is it provides local defense and immunity against harmful intruders into the air and food passages. Now you might ask me how. Well, here's an explanation to it. This function is particularly done by the subepithelial masses of lymphoid tissue that is already mentioned as the Walde's ring. I've told you about it. So these masses, the subepithelial lymphoid masses, they are placed at strategical places, at the portals of air and the food entry, and these basically act as protective sentinels. These lymphoid tissues basically have the B lymphocytes in the germinal centers of the follicles, which help in producing the secretory antibodies of the IgA class, whereas the T lymphocytes in the parafollicular region, and these produce a cell-mediated immunity against various microorganisms, maybe viruses, bacteria, or fungi. So pathogens which happen to enter into these lymphoid masses, the part of the Walde's ring, they are dealt by the IgM and IgG antibodies, which are secreted by the plasma cells. I hope this, a short note on how the local defense and immunity is provided. Just in brief, if I have to mention it in even more simpler words, it is basically the B lymphocytes and the T lymphocytes produced by the germinal center and the parafollicular region of the lymph nodes respectively, which help in the humoral and the cell-mediated immunity, producing the IgM and the IgG antibodies, and further helping in its immunity. Thank you. So after the oropharynx, now we have the hypopharynx, and this is the most simplest part of all, and there's not much here, just a little. So firstly, the applied anatomy. Firstly, what is it also known as? Come on, it is also known as the laryngopharynx or the hypopharynx, right? It is the lowest part of the pharynx. And where is it exactly located? It is present behind and also partly on the sides of the larynx. Its superior limit, that's upper boundary, it is a plane passing from the body of the hyoid bone to the posterior pharyngeal wall. And then its lower limit, that is the lower boundary, it is the lower border of the cricoid cartilage, where the hypopharynx becomes continuous with the esophagus. As I've already mentioned, in the pharynx in general, its limit is from the base of the skull to the lower border of cricoid cartilage. Since hypopharynx is the last of it, so its inferior limit will be the lower border of cricoid cartilage. This hypopharynx lies exactly opposite to the third, fourth, fifth, and the sixth cervical vertebra. Clinically, this hypopharynx is again divided into three regions. Most importantly, the pyriform sinus, then we have the postcricoid region, and lastly the posterior pharyngeal wall. Once again, it is the pyriform sinus, postcricoid region, and the posterior pharyngeal wall. Right. Coming to details of each of these, pyriform sinus. It is also called as the pyriform fossa. Yes, now you've all heard of it. So what is it? Its location. Firstly, it lies on either side of the larynx, on both the sides. The extent is from the pharyngoepiglottic fold to the upper end of the esophagus. Right. Now the most important thing is the boundaries. Laterally and medially, how is it bounded? Laterally, it is by the thyroid cartilage and the thyrohyoid membrane. Medially, it is by the array epiglottic fold, the posterior lateral surface of the arytenoid, and the cricoid cartilages. So three things medially. Number one, array epiglottic fold. Number two, it's the posterior lateral surfaces of the arytenoid. And thirdly, the cricoid cartilages. Well, now all we have to know, and what we know, is that the foreign bodies may lodge in the piriform fossa, mainly those small bones of the fish. Considered as foreign bodies, they may lodge in the piriform fossa. Next important thing is the internal laryngeal nerve runs submucosally, in the lateral wall of this piriform sinus, and hence it is most easily accessible for local anesthesia. And next important thing is it is also through this nerve that the pain is referred to the ear in the carcinoma of the piriform sinus. So most three important things are the mention about the foreign bodies, secondly the access to the internal laryngeal nerve which helps in providing the local anesthesia, thirdly the referred pain in case of to the ear in case of carcinoma of the piriform sinus. Well, the arrows showing, they are the normal piriform fossa, right and left. These piriform fossa, they are better seen when the patient's phonates. Second important thing is the region of the hypopharynx is the postcricoid region. This is the part of the anterior wall of the hypopharynx, and it is present between the upper and the lower border of the cricoid lamina. Second important thing is it is a common site for the carcinoma in the females who are suffering from a disease known as the Plummer-Wilson syndrome. Hope I'm clear with this. Now the third important thing is the posterior pharyngeal wall. This is not much, but this is short description. It extends from the level of the hyoid bone to the level of the cricoarytenoid joint. So just a brief up, the postcricoid region, it is a part of the anterior wall, and it is between the upper and the lower border of the cricoid lamina, and it's a common site for carcinoma for females who are suffering from the Plummer-Wilson syndrome. And the posterior pharyngeal wall extension from the level of the hyoid bone to the level of the cricoarytenoid joint. Now the last but one point is the lymphatic drainage, like always. Now this piriform sinus is richly supplied by lymphatics, and they exit through the thyrohyoid membrane and then drain into the upper jugular chain. That is the first one. Second thing is the lymphatics or the posterior wall, they terminate in the lateral laryngeal or the parapharyngeal nodes, and hence to the deep cervical lymph nodes. Thirdly, the lymphatics of the postcricoid region, they also drain into the parapharyngeal lymph nodes. One more thing is they may also drain into nodes of supraclavicular and the paratracheal region. So here we have four things. Firstly, it is draining into the upper jugular vein. It's just a revision so that we don't forget it. Then secondly, into the deep cervical lymph node, that is from the posterior wall. Then we have from the postcricoid region, it goes to the parapharyngeal nodes, and then from it can also drain into the nodes of supraclavicular and the paratracheal region. The last thing is about the function. It is almost the same as oropharynx. Once again, to revise, it is a common pathway for the air and food, we all know, provides for a vocal tract for resonance of certain speech sounds, and also helps in deglutition phases. Second thing is there's a coordination between the contraction of the pharyngeal muscles and the relaxation of the cricopharyngeal sphincter at the upper end of the esophagus. One important thing that I missed out while I was telling about the lymphatic drainage is due to the rich lymphatic network of piriform fossa, it also explains why the nodal metastases are seen in carcinoma of this region. It is particularly because of the rich lymphatic drainage. With this, we conclude the pharynx, the divisions of pharynx. Thank you.